As far as the macro goes, we're still hanging out at the top end of the range on the yen versus the USD. Around 159 is what I saw earlier today. It may have fallen a little bit more. They have been shorting oil, is what it looks like the Bank of Japan chose to do. We have seen a little rise this evening, back up to 159.26, which is a big jump from where it was earlier this evening. If we do continue to see that trend push higher, I think once we get pretty close to 161, 162, the Bank of Japan will have to intervene at that point. And if they're already starting to short oil in a way to be able to push down the inflation there in their economy, and if they're on the wrong side of that, if they're wrong-footed, when a short squeeze happens on oil, they're going to be in an even worse spot than what they are now. Yeah, at the open here, we just saw oil jump again from 15.5 all the way up to 16.6, 16,600 yen per barrel. That's a fairly good sized little jump here, continuing to trend towards 17,000, 18,000 yen per barrel, which is where we saw it at the top end of when it ran up that Sunday when they shut down the Strait of Hormuz. It doesn't look like the strategic supply that Japan has and what they're putting on the market is slowing this down at all. I don't expect that it will. I think the damage is already done, and it's just a ticking time bomb until they're forced to raise interest rates there in Japan. Will they be able to hold that off till the meeting this month? Maybe. Maybe it happens sooner than that. Some other big news today. Ripple came out and they are providing their full scope treasury product for large enterprises and institutions that want treasury management of XRP and ROUSD and other liquidity instruments. That in correlation with Ripple Prime, they're able to then margin assets and provide liquidity real time and generate returns 24/7, 365 if it's all on crypto rails. So big deal going on there. You also have the Australian Financial Authority coming out and saying that anybody that's an exchange there in Australia or a qualified custodian will have to have their financial license here in the next 6 months. They have 6 months in order to be able to get that in place. We've talked to a couple different groups there in Australia here recently, and so that will affect them, and they will have to get licensed in order to continue to provide their services. So look out for that. And then we saw, I don't know if this is a rumor or not, but it sure would be fitting. Apparently Iran is saying that they're going to charge people for going through the Strait of Hormuz, and they're only willing to take payment in the Chinese yuan or cryptocurrency. If they're going to take Tether and Bitcoin, that could be cause for the US government to sanction those networks. That would be, again, it wouldn't be unprecedented. We've seen the US sanction another network before. They did that with Tornado Cash, so it's there, it could be done, but that would be a wild scenario if the US decided to sanction either Tether's network or Bitcoin's network. I don't know that they'll do Bitcoin. I mean, Trump's son, and many people that he's involved with are pretty involved with Bitcoin mining, but Tether, there's Howard Lutnick and all the people, Bo Hines. Again, they've issued USAT, which is a U.S. compliant stablecoin that's in compliance with the Genius Act, and USDT, their original Tether, is not in compliance. They are going through an audit, and they're doing some other stuff. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, sure would be interesting if that was the catalyst for them to sanction Tether. Which actually, that whole premise came from Neil, who's a developer at Ripple. I was going back and forth with him on Twitter one day, him and Scams. This is probably 2-3 years ago. And it was actually after I put out the domino theory. So it had to have been back in like May of 2024 that he explained that. Because I thought, Tether would depeg was what the original thesis for the domino theory was when the reverse carry trade unwound. But if the US government were to sanction Tether, which is what they stated was much more likely than Tether depegging, That would also cause a liquidity crisis and people divesting from Tether very quickly in order to alleviate the concerns that they might have by being associated with that network. And then they would need another liquidity source, demand for XRP, and all the things that many people here are hoping for. So that's where we sit on the macro side of things. Still just waiting for Japan to move here. It doesn't look like the Fed's going to, and somebody's got to blink. I think it's going to be Japan.